When you stop being constantly available, a subtle but powerful shift occurs both externally and internally. Carl Jung understood this. Energy, time, and presence are finite resources, yet many live as if they are not. We answer every call, respond to every message, and agree to every favor, draining ourselves in the process. Initially, it feels noble. You are the dependable one, the friend always present, the partner always sacrificing, the worker always saying yes. Over time, your value becomes invisible, not because you are worth less, but because constant availability breeds being taken for granted. Jung warned against this. Endless accessibility invites the world to forget your value. Consider water. A constantly flowing spring is often overlooked. Its coolness, clarity, and life-giving properties are taken for granted. Only when it runs dry, even briefly, is its true worth realized. The same applies to people. When you step back and remove your constant presence, the world adjusts. Initially, there might be resistance. People might question your decreased responsiveness. Some might mistake boundaries for rejection. But as the noise fades, the wrong people drift away, and the right ones lean in. Those who truly value you will make the effort to connect. Those attached only to your availability will disappear. Jung would consider this a revelation, not a loss. Life reveals who truly belongs and who is merely passing through. By ceasing constant availability, you stop scattering your energy and start investing it wisely. You transition from a background character in others' stories to the main character in your own. Calm arrives gradually. The silence might feel strange, even uncomfortable. But within that space, you reconnect with your thoughts, rediscover abandoned hobbies and postponed dreams, and unearth parts of yourself buried under others' needs. Relationships shift, priorities sharpen, and you realize the world didn't fall apart without your constant presence. This isn't about withdrawing from anger or resentment, but about protecting your essential energy. Jung often discussed individuation, becoming your true self. Part of this process involves recognizing that worth isn't tied to availability. You can be kind without being constant, present without being permanent, and love deeply without abandoning yourself. The quiet truth is that ceasing constant availability doesn't diminish love, it refines it. The remaining love doesn't depend on your convenience, but on connection. This, Jung would argue, marks the beginning of authentic living, free from obligation. When you step back from being endlessly available, the first thing you notice is the shift in how people treat your absence. At first, they reach for you as they always have, with the same frequency and expectation. But when you don't answer right away, when you take time for yourself instead of immediately tending to their needs, you begin to see the truth of their relationship with you. Some will send another message softer and more thoughtful. Others will stop reaching out entirely. That is your first quiet revelation. Not everyone in your life was there for you. Many were there for the version of you that was always accessible and ready to give. Carl Jung would call this the unveiling of shadow relationships, connections that looked whole but were held together by convenience, not depth. When you stop being constantly available, you give these connections a chance to reveal their true nature. While this can hurt initially, it is also a strange kind of liberation. You no longer carry the invisible weight of keeping certain people in your life simply because they've always been there. There's also a more subtle shift. Your perception of yourself begins to change. When you've lived in a constant state of being needed, your sense of worth becomes tangled with other people's demands. You start to feel important only when you are busy, when your phone is buzzing, when someone is asking you for something. But when you step away, you are forced to find your worth elsewhere. At first, this can feel like emptiness. Then, slowly, it becomes spaciousness. In that spaciousness, you rediscover parts of yourself you forgot existed. You might pick up a book you haven't touched in years. You might sit in a cafe alone without checking your phone. You might walk under the evening sky with no plan or urgency, simply breathing in the cool air. In these moments, you begin to feel something you may not have felt in a long time, a quiet self-sufficiency. You realize you don't need constant affirmation or activity to feel alive. Your own company is enough. Here's where the world begins to respond differently. When people see that you are not constantly available, you stop being taken for granted. Your time becomes something to be cherished, not assumed. Your presence becomes a gift, not a habit. The conversations you do have feel richer and more intentional because you are no longer spreading yourself thin. People who truly care will notice your absence, not out of entitlement, but out of genuine connection. They will ask, "How have you been?" and actually mean it. Jung spoke often of the importance of boundaries, framing it through the lens of individuation, the process of becoming who you truly are, separate from the masks you wear for society. He believed that if you are always available to others, you are never truly available to yourself. By stepping back, you are not only protecting your energy but also reclaiming your identity. You stop living as a constant responder and start living as a conscious creator of your own life. There's another transformation, one you might not expect. When you stop giving all of your time away, you become more selective about where you place it. When you choose to be present for someone, they can feel the difference. Your presence becomes more focused and genuine. You are no longer half listening while thinking about the next message you have to answer. You are there, fully, and this depth of attention creates a different kind of intimacy, one that can't exist when you're spread thin. It's also in this stage that you start to see who you have been to yourself all along. Were you treating yourself like someone worth protecting? Or were you exhausting yourself to prove your worth to others? For many, the honest answer is painful. Jung would say that the greatest work you can do is to turn inward and face that truth without flinching. To ask, if I gave myself the same care, loyalty, and availability I give to others, how different would my life be? Perhaps the most surprising change is this: when you stop being constantly available, you find that you no longer need constant validation. You learn to sit with your own thoughts without rushing to share them. You learn to process your feelings without needing someone else to approve them. You become comfortable with the idea that some parts of your life are yours alone, not to be explained, justified, or broadcast. This is not withdrawal from life, it is a deeper entry into it. You are not cutting people off out of bitterness. You are filtering out the noise so you can hear the music. You are not abandoning others. You are refusing to abandon yourself. In time, the right people, the ones who respect your boundaries, cherish your presence, and see your value without constant reminders, will become the steady few you carry forward. When you stop being endlessly available, the world doesn't end. It reorganizes. The wrong things fall away. The right things grow stronger. For the first time in a long time, you begin to live on your own terms, not as a reaction to every demand around you, but as an expression of the quiet, steady truth of who you are. The most profound change that comes from ceasing to be endlessly available is not in how others perceive you, but in how you perceive the entire structure of your life. You begin to recognize previously invisible patterns, the friendships that existed only because you carried them, the conversations that drained instead of nourished you, and the subtle guilt you felt whenever you said no. You begin to ask yourself questions you've avoided for years. Why was I so afraid to step back? Why did I believe my constant presence was the only thing holding everything together? Carl Jung understood that much of our overavailability stems from the unconscious fear of being forgotten, unloved, or replaced. We think, if I'm not always there, they'll find someone else. But here is the hard truth: if your value to someone depends entirely on your constant accessibility, they never truly valued you, only the convenience you provided. Stepping back doesn't push away the wrong people. It reveals who they've been all along. In the early days of reclaiming your time, this truth can feel heavy. Your phone may grow quieter, your social calendar less full. There will be evenings when the silence feels oppressive. You may wonder if you've made a mistake. But here's the hidden gift: in that silence, you begin to hear your own life again. You start noticing details you once rushed past: the way the light falls across your floor in the morning, the texture of your breath when you wake, the clarity of your mind without the constant tug of other people's demands. Slowly, without forcing it, your energy shifts. You begin to stand differently, carrying yourself with a subtle strength that comes from knowing your worth is not tied to anyone's approval or constant contact. People notice this, even if they can't name it. They start treating your time with more care because they sense that you do too. Jung would describe this as individuation reaching a deeper stage, the merging of your conscious self with the parts of you that were once hidden or sacrificed. When you were always available, you were often living in fragments, giving pieces of yourself to everyone else and leaving little for yourself. Now you are gathering those pieces back, one by one, becoming whole. This process doesn't harden you, it softens you. You become more compassionate, but your compassion is no longer reckless. You help where you choose to help, love where you choose to love, give where your soul says yes. Because your giving is no longer endless, it becomes more powerful. The people who receive it feel its depth, knowing you are giving out of true intention, not habit. Your relationships begin to transform. Those built on mutual respect deepen. Those built on dependency fade naturally. You no longer chase people, you let them go, trusting that those meant for you will not require you to burn yourself out to keep their place. Perhaps the most liberating discovery is this: your life is not smaller without constant availability, it is fuller. The empty spaces that once terrified you are now filled with meaning. You read more, create more, sit with your own thoughts, and find they are not your enemy. You walk without rushing, eat without distraction, and begin to live in a rhythm that feels natural to your soul. There will be moments when old habits try to creep back in. A message arrives, and your instinct is to answer immediately. An invitation comes, and you want to say yes without thinking. But now there is a pause, a breath, and in that pause you ask yourself, do I want this? Or do I feel obligated? This question becomes a compass, guiding you away from automatic sacrifice and toward conscious choice. Over time, people adjust. They learn that you are not someone they can summon at will, but someone whose presence is earned and appreciated. The quality of your interactions rises. You have fewer conversations, but they are richer. You have fewer obligations, but they matter more. You spend less time explaining yourself because your life now speaks for itself. Carl Jung would remind us that the goal is not to become unreachable, but to become intentional. You are still connected to the world, but you refuse to be consumed by it. You are still generous, but your generosity comes from abundance, not exhaustion. You are still loving, but your love is rooted in self-respect. When you look back, you realize something profound. The moment you stopped being endlessly available was the moment your real life began. Not the life built on pleasing others, but the life built on honoring yourself. And because you honored yourself, you were finally able to give the world something better than your constant presence. You gave it your truest presence.